In terms of certainties, outgoings, as far as I'm aware, Luis Diaz could be in the air from Tokyo. He could have landed in Munich, but we finally got this almost buy-in bid that was coming by snail mail, 75 million euros, 65.5 million quid, I think it translates at. For the age, the price, the deal, everything around that, is this just one where every party's happy? Luis Diaz has got his new wage. Liverpool know he wants out. They've got a very good fee. Everyone just shakes hands happily and moves on.
Yeah, absolutely, really. I mean, we spoke, didn't we? Like, we all the way through this saga, really, and it has felt like a little bit of a saga. That, you know, Liverpool had no compulsion to do this unless the fee was decent. And I think in the end, what they got, you know, they made a 25 million euro profit on him, I think, or 20 odd million profit on him, which is impressive for a 28-year-old with 2 years left on his contract. He's expressed a desire to leave as well. So, and you feel like Liverpool might have, you know, he's probably in his peak now, so he's going to pass it soon. So, felt like a really, really good deal for Liverpool, to be honest. And I think a good deal for the player. He gets a pay bump over there. He gets to go and try the German league, and I'm sure he'll do really, really well out there. And also for Bayern, they've maybe paid, it's a little bit of a pricey deal, but I'd also say they're getting a very, very good player, works his socks off. They lost Leroy Sané, hadn't they? They've got Musiala out injured, so they're a bit short of attacking options. So, I just think it's one that kind of works for everyone, really. I'd also say that, you know, there's pressure on Liverpool now as well, because he was a key player last season, versatile, hard worker, did so much, key to that title win, and we had a really impressive season. So they've got to go and replace him now, which is not easy. But I think overall it does feel, as you say, a deal that suited all parties, really. I'm sure everyone can kind of feel like they're happy with it.
There was a few lines as well in the various Patch Journal reported, obviously from yourself and various others, that Liverpool had tried to renew his contract twice. But reading that fully with context, that wasn't this summer, is it? That's been previous times where they've had those discussions. But just because what the Diaz camp, by the sounds of it, were asking for against what we were prepared to offer, the gap's just too big, or was too big at the time.
Yeah, exactly. That is my understanding, and you could see a little bit of this playing out, really, because everybody saw the kind of Manchester City interest that materialised last season. That was quite clearly a bit of a play from the players' camp to kind of get a contract sorted or whatever. So, and a lot of the reporting out of Colombia as well has long suggested that he would have liked to have signed a new contract, and Liverpool just were never going to give him that, because as good a player as he was, as versatile, as brilliant, I mean, you look at the numbers there, they were never going to put him in that kind of bracket, really, were they? So, and I think that was the right decision. He was never giving you, as good as he was, all the, you know, hard worker, everything, brilliant part of the team. He was never Sadio Mane level, was he? And you pay that kind of money to a Sadio Mane. So I think Liverpool were right not to give out the contract, really. But also then, Diaz totally entitled to go and try and find that money elsewhere. And, you know, he's not just gone to Saudi to get the money. He's gone to a great club in a great league. And you know, I'm sure Liverpool will probably come up against him in the Champions League at some point. So, but it's one where everyone is kind of, this is what we want from this whole scenario. And everybody feels like they've got it. So you just got to kind of be happy when that happens.
Yeah, it is a good deal and everyone wishes him well. And I suppose, speaking of Saudi there, one player that didn't play a single minute on Saturday, Darwin Nunez. Now, Arne Slot was quite open around Luis Diaz and saying, with all the distraction and things going on, he's not in the team sheet. But he actually said Nunez was a minor injury. Again, there's more suggestions around Al Hilal and waiting for that. Without being disrespectful, it just seems like all the options bar that are drying up fast. I know there's talk of AC Milan and Juventus, but after the Napoli debacle and that stretching, they're not going to pay anything like Liverpool are asking for, are they?
Yeah, I'd be surprised, I'd say, really, if he does end up going to Italy. I just think the clubs there are not going to ever put up the right kind of fee, really. So we'll see. Maybe someone can do a bit more than Napoli and that gets him there. But I still say strong favourites, the Saudi clubs, and Al Hilal in particular seem to be pretty keen, don't they? So again, just kind of waiting for them to do something. You know, are they going to be like Bayern and say that the offers come in for 6 weeks before it actually does. We'll see. But the key factor there is that, I never got the impression with Diaz that he was massively open to Saudi, because that interest was there, but they never were given the green light to do anything about it. Whereas with Nunez, we know in the past he's shown an inclination to go there. So because that's the case, gives you a good chance maybe to get a deal over the line. And just waiting for them to actually finally pull the trigger. But they're doing a lot of talking about it at the moment.
Yeah, it does feel like one of the many who's heading for the exit, but waiting for actually something concrete to materialise. And I mean, this is definitely not concrete, but quite a few outlets have got this. I mean, it feels like only the other day he was starring in that Euro under-21 final. Obviously, the Lionesses have just had their success, which was brilliant. But Harvey Elliott, it seemed to have gone quiet, but this one came up this week. Spurs, because the Morgan Gibbs-White deal collapsed, didn't it? He signed a new deal at Nottingham Forest. Heard anything on this one, or could you see it, him at Tottenham, Harvey Elliott?
Yeah, it's an interesting link, obviously. What's interesting about this is I got the vibe that the West Ham one, that link that was doing the round, that the player himself wasn't particularly keen on that, and that he thought he'd get someone further up the table. Now, Tottenham, not quite further up the table. They didn't do very well last season, did they? But they are in the Champions League. They're probably going to do better this season under a decent manager. So I'm sure that'll be the hope. And they are a bigger club, aren't they? So maybe makes more sense. But I haven't personally had any info on this one. So, we wait and see. Still in the boat, really, where we're kind of expecting him to leave now. Which again, like a few months ago, I would have kind of said that would have been unlikely. But you look at the signings that Liverpool have made; it's just very hard to see him getting in the team now, sadly. So, maybe Spurs are going to end up being an option for him. But I think he thinks he can do, he can get a better option than West Ham, and I tend to agree with him on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Top half, challenging for sort of honours. Like there's quite a few clubs, and people are mentioning it in the chat panel as well. Could Harvey be used as a make weight for clubs like Newcastle should be all over that, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. The other youngster that I don't know, it's fair to say it seems to have gone a bit quiet on. Ben Doak was linked with so many options and different things, but that just seems completely silent at the moment.
Yeah, but again, I still kind of think it's one of those really with Doak. I think he's not going to be playing football at Liverpool next season. I can say that with some confidence, but it's all about whether someone offers the right amount for a permanent, or they have to kind of, towards the end of the window, farm him out on loan again. So, the ball's in the court of the interested clubs really. Are you going to give Liverpool the decision to make on a permanent, or a club's just going to wait and see if they can pick him up later in the window? We'll kind of see in terms of that. But as I say, there are no opportunities for him at Liverpool coming up. So it will be, a sale or a loan. But I think Liverpool would probably prefer a permanent. But if that interest doesn't come, just get him out on loan and see if that can bump his value up a little bit.
Yeah, you do think it. Either way, he deserves first team football of a certain level next season. And the one maybe sadness in the current developments today, Luis Diaz has gone, or is going. His tune's a banger, and probably even a better tune, Federico Chiesa. So we're going to lose the two bangers from the stadium next season. But this seems to be developing a bit more. You've probably seen the stories today that Inter Milan looking at Ademola Lookman and trying to get that deal done. And people are thinking, why are you talking about this? Because strong suggestions in Italy that if that happens, Atalanta are looking at Federico Chiesa to come in. And I suppose in the politest way, because he didn't play too many minutes, if Liverpool can get their money back, that 10 million from Atalanta or whoever, they will do it, you fancy, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why it's kind of... it was a bit of a no-brainer, really, in terms of, because of the price that they could get him for, that they would largely make it back, or at least get close to that, because there was always going to be Italian clubs interested in him. And we've said for a while on this podcast, haven't we, that Italy was going to be his destination, and that was the expectation this summer, and that is still the case. So don't personally know about the Atalanta one, but it would be seemingly a decent move for him, I think. So yeah, just a case of waiting for them to firm that up. But I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up back in Serie A this summer.
Yeah, it does feel like quite a few of the forward or attacking based players that are going to depart. And I suppose the final question, because a few you've probably seen this in the chat panel floating by, talking about, is there any other names? Is there anyone else in the mix. I mean, apart from players like Gay, especially, there doesn't really seem to be any centre half names floating about publicly anyway. But obviously, people are discussing any things. Is there still a chance that it can just be a name from nowhere as usual?
Oh, always. I mean, to be fair, I feel like that's happening less and less these days because there's so much access to information. Things are just getting out left, right, and centre, even for a club like Liverpool, which are very good at keeping the cards close to the chest. Even they kind of find it hard not to have the names of transfer targets put out there. But I think what you see, and with the centre half thing, is that they will pivot to the other profile, won't they? The younger centre halves we talked about, but only in the instance that they can't get Gay. And the fact that they haven't done that yet suggests to me that they still believe that they can get Gay, and that's certainly information I've got. So they're just waiting on that one, and then if that can't happen for whatever reason, then we'll start to hear alternative names. I mean, I've thrown out a few in things I've written about some of the young centre halves they've watched. Yeah. So, but they're not on the radar at the moment because the idea is to try and sign Mark Gay. But it's wait and see on that front. And yeah, like I say, on the forwards, quite hard to judge really how many they're going to sign in the end. And we know that the big piece of the puzzle is going to be Isak, but a lot of dominoes to fall yet. So, maybe if those two deals get done, maybe we start to hear a few more names about potential other slight additions, maybe if that is a forward or whatever. But it's a bit quiet in terms of new, fresh names coming up at the moment.
Fingers crossed we will hear something soon. And that's where we are, ladies and gents. We're all waiting for the major story and the dominoes to fall like you are. We're all wondering if new names will come out the woodwork. We're all wondering how many forwards, how many centre-backs. It all remains to be seen. And even late July in the summer, there is plenty to happen before the league starts. All it leaves me to say as ever is, for the time, the analysis, for the insight, and for carrying the show for about 11 minutes worth of it, David, it is much appreciated as ever.
Yeah, I'll be invoicing double bubble for this one, mate.
Yeah, I'll leave that one with Eddie, but very fair. And there we go, ladies and gents. On a Monday evening, that was another Media Matters for Anfield Index.